Let's talk about the exponential function that is the compound interest formula. So we have the formula fv is equal to pv times 1 plus r divided by n to the power of t times n. Now I want to explain what each of these variables is. So as you can see, fv stands for future value, which is usually the answer that we're going to be looking for. PV stands for principal or present value, so the amount of money that you have right now. R is going to be your interest rate, and it always has to be in decimal form. Now, R is actually being divided by N, which is the number of compoundings per year. So this is going to change based on vocabulary. So you're going to be very careful and look at the vocab that they give you in the question to find out what your N is. And then T is going to be time, in terms of years usually. So let's actually look at a problem and see how we would apply this formula. And since this is an exponential function, you do have an initial value, and logically it makes sense that the initial value will be your starting amount, which is your present or principal value. And then your base is going to be what you raise to the exponent. So this 1 plus r divided by n will be your base. So now let's look at a problem and see how we would apply this. This problem is asking us for our future value if we had 2100 as our principal value, earning 4% compounded annually after 4 years. So based on our formula, our future value is what we're looking for. So we can say that FV is going to be equal to my present value, which is 2100, times 1 plus 4% in decimal form would be 0.04, divided by n. So if this is annually, let's look at this vocabulary. Annually means 1 time per year. So we're going to divide by 1 times 4, raised to the power of 4 times 1. Because again, this annually means that it's happening 1 time per year. So now that we have our formula set up, all we need to do is to plug it in somewhere like Wolfram Alpha. And as you can see, I have it plugged in here. Now there's no divided by 1 or times 1 because it's not needed since it's annually. And the answer that we get is 2456.7, which would be answer choice D. Now let's look at another problem where this word right here changes. In problem number 13, we see the word monthly. So instead of annually meaning 1, n is equal to 1, in problem number 13, n will be equal to 12 because it's happening 12 times per year. There's a lot of different vocabulary that we can actually have. One of those would be annually, like we had, which just means that n will be equal to 1. We could also have quarterly, which means n is equal to 4. It happens 4 times a year. We could have monthly, which gives us n is equal to 12. We could have daily, which gives us n is equal to 365. And these 4 are going to be your most common. There are others out there that could show up, semi-annually, for example, which of course would mean n is equal to 2. And maybe they could even say something like 5 times per year, 3 times per year. And that would be whatever you plug in for your n. Once you know what your n is, all you need to do is plug in the rest of the equations. So for this example, we would say 1400 times 1 plus my interest rate in decimal form, 0.07, divided by my n, which is 12. And the reason for dividing by this is because when someone, or a bank for example, is giving you 7% APR, compounded monthly, they're not necessarily giving you this 7% every month. They're giving you 7% of your account over the spread of a year. So every single month, they're going to take whatever you have in that account and give you a fraction of that 7%, 1/12 of that 7%. And to be honest, the more compoundings you have, the more money you're going to get. So this actually works out in your favor versus doing something annually. And if you were to have something like a daily compounding or a continuously compounding, which you will cover in pre-cal, you can actually have a higher amount by not even investing more money, just by the way that the math is going to work. So you always want this number right here, this n, to be the highest possible if you are earning interest on an account. So with that in mind, we'll go ahead and say times, or raised to the power of t, which is the number of years, 22, times n. And once we have this, we can go ahead and plug it in. So once we have everything plugged in with the appropriate parentheses, Wolfram Alpha gives us our answer, which is 6501.27, which would be answer choice B. Now let me show you how this can differ. If nothing else changed except for the compounding, it was compounding, let's say, daily, for example, and we switch this to 365, you can see how our answer is going to change. And it's going to change by quite a lot, a whole $28, simply because our compoundings were different. So, whenever you're investing in an account, always make sure that you get the most money possible with the money that you have right now. And knowing this math formula is going to help you to do that. That's why it's super important for you guys to know the compound interest formula and for you guys to be aware when you're investing your money.